The era of the cheat code was a damn special nostalgic thing. For me, it was a time of exploder cheat cartridges, of printing out reams of button combinations only to sit and tap them all in, one by one until your game of choice was a blur of unlockables, special modes, floating cars, big heads, and everything in between. There was a joy to this stuff that almost feels like the console equivalent of modding on PC. The idea of taking a base game and twisting it, but within the realms of what a given developer had allowed. Things like the Exploder, GameShark, or other third-party hardware would go further, often breaking titles along the way. But the safety blanket of developer-approved codes were a blast to experiment with. Many have since become legend, an essential part of revisiting any classic title, and the formation of why you fell in love with video games as a medium, let alone specific franchises, characters, world designs, etc. Obviously, today the industry has found a way to monetize unlockables with microtransactions, DLC, or segmented releases, but back before the current generation, it was a paradise of possibility. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game cheat codes that changed your life. Number 10. Putting the blood back into Mortal Kombat. The 90s were a wild ride for video games as far as censorship was concerned. Various developers and creatives literally challenged themselves to push the boundaries of acceptance as much as possible. And to be honest, it was pretty great. Mortal Kombat and Doom were two notable parent-scaring franchises that came out of this period, but with everyone thinking that games were for kids, Mortal Kombat's reputation as this child-poisoning satanic game led to various publishers censoring the game's blood on consoles. Only NetherRealm, then called Midway, weren't having any of it, and actually teased players in Sega versions of the game that there was a code hidden somewhere that would assumedly do something cool. The solution? Tapping ABAC on the Genesis/Mega Drive version, which made on-screen text turn red as "Now entering combat" came up, and all the game's fatalities and bloody effects could be seen in their original arcade glory. There is no doubt that stunts like this helped cement the formation of the ESRB ratings board in 1994, forever managing the content of video games to this day. Number 9. Spawning vehicles in GTA to finish missions. Would we all have put up with GTA's primitive early design if not for some awesome cheat codes? Answers down in the comments, but I'm gonna say that a huge part of enjoying how dynamically sandboxy the original 2D and 3D titles were came from indulging in cheat codes. Things like the BS Todd all-unlock cheat for the original, electro guns and flamethrowers in GTA 2, this reached a peak in GTA 3 where if you were struggling with a mission or wanted to take out a target in style, just spawn a few tanks. Even better, punch in the flying cars cheat and take to the skies, firing backwards to gain speed as you soared from Portland to Shoreside Vale. Instant health refills, playing as any NPC, destroying all cars, the game always seemed to encourage experimentation as much as possible, and cheats were just an extension of that. Thankfully, Rockstar are one of the only modern-day developers still including cheat codes and modes in their games. Both GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 have them, with the latter letting you bypass entire progression systems, unlocking all camp upgrades, weapons, and side missions. Bliss. Number 8. Using a money code in every version of The Sims. Hard work is its own reward, How about we just punch in a whole bunch of digits and a fully stocked house rammed full of fancy furniture, trinkets, and accessories can be reward enough. Yes, for as much as The Sims can be a semi-realistic delve into how you'd live an ideal life, or lord over a handful of random humans dependent on you to survive, I have not spoken to a single player that didn't use the money cheat to at least get off the ground, or to see what content the game had on offer. Done in 1,000 simoleon increments, on the original PC build, you would type Rosebud into a cheat window that was brought up by hitting Alt, Shift, Control, and C. Then just repeat it until you were a millionaire. Suddenly you can kinda justify those extra chicken coops, oversized TV screens, or multiple swimming pools peppering the front and back garden. Because that's what we'd all do with an exorbitant amount of money, right? Number 7. GolDENEYE'S Invulnerability. Especially on the train level. Possibly the most nostalgia-inducing shooter of all time, even those who didn't play Rare's seminal N64 blaster have a certain affinity for it. Everyone knows it as the first major experiment with local first-person shooter multiplayer on consoles. Its gun noises are as iconic as any classic American Western, and its general sense of flow and pace is still awesome today. The cheats, though, that's what really leveled the playing field, letting you toggle the radar off so that all those odd job players couldn't just one-shot you with their hats, or maybe even turning invisible altogether so that it was just that little bit more intense. For the single player, though, besides infinite ammo and all weapons, something like the infuriating train level was more comfortably handled using invulnerability. I mean, I didn't have to stoop to such lows, but I've heard that some people did, just so they could brag to their friends about finishing the game in one solid weekend like everyone else. I got there with skill and determination, just like you did. Number 6. Doom 2's no-clip mode. A legendary franchise for scores of reasons, from gore-tastic shotgun blasts to heavy metal MIDI soundtracks, Doom 2 also showed just how much you could do with a God mode style cheat system. Inputting IDDQD on a cheat console panel that you could bring up on PC allowed you to fully clip and zoom through all the levels, exploring all manner of off-screen secrets, pathways, and hidden details, giving a greater appreciation for the game overall. This is how players found the head of developer John Romero, tucked away inside a walled-off room behind the final boss. An entire generation of intrepid coders and game lovers grew up idolizing Doom 2, alongside all of its different methodologies, providing a greater understanding of the gaming medium going forward. Also, if you've ever seen GTA San Andreas from the sky with all of its fog removed, or Horizon Zero Dawn only rendering the portion of the world where the camera is pointing, you'll know that this sort of stuff is both insanely cool and insanely weird. Number 5. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater's Best Unlockables. No one, literally not a single one, unlocked Spider-Man on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 in the way that you were supposed to. In fact, I will mail out a small drawing of a mouse holding up a sign saying I was wrong to whoever can describe the method to unlocking him right now down in the comments without looking it up. Because when the requirement was actually 100% completion with a custom skater, and then the code was just right there to punch in instead, that was a way more enjoyable option. Now, whilst other third-party characters like Darth Maul or Wolverine would appear in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, the fact Spider-Man exemplifies so many of our collective childhoods playing Tony Hawk's 2 kinda speaks for itself. Today, he's as synonymous with the game as Rage Against the Machine or trying to pronounce Benihana, exemplifying a period in gaming so powerful, many of us took up skateboarding or BMX off the back of the games themselves. Number 4. Actually being able to finish Time Crisis. There will be people watching this that weren't even alive in the era of light gun games. Still a staple of the arcades today, 1997 saw the iconic Time Crisis brought to PS1, replete with a G-Con 45 controller so that you could blast away enemies in style. However, it was insanely hard, especially to younger players, having its timers and mechanics built around sucking as many coins out of the populace as possible back when it was still an arcade machine. To actually get the entire genre off the ground and establish a reputation other than sheer frustration, the home console releases shipped with a bunch of cheat codes to help us get through. Ranging from infinite continues to tons of extra ammo, many players with Game Shocks hacked the game even further, giving themselves infinite time and auto-reload and infinite lives. In short, the evil Mad Dog and his cronies were only really defeatable if you embraced the use of cheats. But when the game still played this good, no one was complaining. Oh, and while I'm here, Namco, just put the Time Crisis collection on Switch and we'll play it using the motion controllers. It'll be lovely. Number 3. Link is Zelda. The Legend of Zelda. If there's one good thing that came out of social media, it's finally being able to nip in the bud one of the worst proliferations of false information in the history of gaming. What is it? That the little guy in the green tunic is called Zelda. It is the Legend of Zelda after all, and it's not like Nintendo helped themselves across the late 80s and 90s. Not only was Zelda herself only in the game's instruction manual, but one of the most useful cheats in the franchise involved calling yourself Zelda instead of Link. Doing so skipped the whole first quest, meaning that you didn't have to retrieve the letter and could move on acquiring the rest of Link's abilities and items instead. The joy of any Zelda is in exploration and puzzle solving, something that you're far more equipped to do if you rename Link to Zelda. Number 2. Level Select. Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic's relationship to gaming is legend, not just for his ability to turn 90s attitude into sheer bankability, but for having one of the most pristine platformers of them all. There's so much about the original trilogy in particular that's seared into our brains, from that series of moving squares underwater in Chemical Plant to, well, just drowning underwater in general. Seriously, that repeating sound effect that builds when you can't escape, that still gives me chills. Because Sonic the Hedgehog, for as much as he's a lovable little chili dog eating scamp, has a game that could be incredibly hard. The very reason so many of us have fond memories of Green Hill Zone over the rest of the game was because of this. And if you wanted to explore the entirety of Sonic without too much stress, you needed the hallowed level select code. Done by tapping up, down, left, right, then holding A and pressing start, you could drop into any of the game's 7 zones, mopping up the Chaos Emeralds that were way harder in a single playthrough. Number 1. The Konami Code. Gaming is a language. You can learn it, understand it, replicate it, and pass it on. The one thing that binds us all together, alongside save-scumming, HUD elements, rocket jumping, and kill streaks, though, is the Konami Code. Born in 1986's Gradius on the NES, the code has since gone on to be used in literally thousands of video games, from Konami's own first-party output to whatever your favorite game is, and millions in between. Also known as the Contra Code, as it mercifully gave you 30 more lives in the brutally hard original game, hitting up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, always results in something worthwhile. Some notable examples over the years include turning off your wanted level in GTA San Andreas, Rocket League's main menu changing to reflect supersonic acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars, Metal Gear Solid 2's handshake between Otacon and Snake being a tribute to the code itself, and Anthem changing its music to an 8-bit score if you punch in the code on the main menu. Even Google Stadia has the code printed in full on the back of its new controllers, though I doubt it's gonna help when the service itself is divisive as hell. The Konami code, though, is just brilliant, and once you have it memorized, you can unlock a ludicrous amount of things from your entire game collection, all the way from the 80s up until now. Seriously, go pick up one of your favorite games, punch the code in, and realize there's been something hidden this whole time. And that's my list of legendary cheat codes that kinda changed our lives. Let me know your favorites down in the comments below, the ones that everybody will remember. I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Please check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I'll catch you soon.